All right, welcome everyone. I hope everyone who is in the States had a great Thanksgiving. Happy to be here today. This is our typical bi-monthly cadence of the new releases for the Autodesk Construction Cloud, so happy to go through those for you today. These are from November, so everything that I'm going through today has been released, is live in Autodesk Construction Cloud. Okay. Usually I'm joined by my counterpart, Alan, but Alan decided the party was going to continue on with this holiday, so I am on my own today. If I have not met you before, again, my name is Lisa Stine. I'm a construction engagement engineer over here at Imagine It. Been here for about 9 months now, but coming here from about 7 years at Autodesk, and then previous to that, about 8 years as a licensed structural engineer working in construction, but specifically electric utilities, generation, and transmission. I am in northern Colorado, and it is about 14 degrees outside today, so happy to be inside and on here with all of you. All right. Okay. All right, so our agenda today, I'm just going to kind of briefly overview what the release cadence is that comes from Autodesk, and then how Imagine It then relays those releases to you, our clients and audience. Then we'll go through the November 2025 releases, a lot of different areas in there, but we'll be focused on pre-construction, model management, construction ops, and then just the overall ACC platform. Now, typically these bulleted items will change just depending on what releases come out and what they pertain to from Autodesk. And then we'll go into any Q&A. So if you have questions while I'm going through this, please feel free, as Lori mentioned, to put any of your Q&A into the Q&A, into the question spot in this, in our container today, and then when we get to Q&A, I'll go through those questions with you guys. Okay, so just a reminder of what the release overview or cadence is from Autodesk. So Autodesk Construction Cloud has new releases that come out every other month. So they just came out in November. The next releases will be in January, March. You guys get the idea. And so once they get unrolled, before they get unrolled, they get announced to us, partner organizations, and so we're really in the know about what's coming, how that's going to affect your business, how that's going to be really helpful for the Autodesk Construction Cloud. And so we do our best to really get a very strong grasp on those releases and then present those to you. So there are new releases, ongoing releases every other month coming from Autodesk. But of course, these bi-monthly webinars are a really great way for you guys to stay in the know of what's coming. It's a massive platform. There's a lot of new changes happening all the time. So we never want you to be surprised hopping into your instance of ACC to find something new. We definitely want you to kind of know what's coming before it does. So would love to have you on all of these calls in the future. All right, so let's hop into those November 2025 releases. Again, we are going to start with pre-construction here today, specifically bid management and qualification. Okay, so for qualification, and kind of the format you'll see on all of my slides is the focus area. So this is qualification, and then what the actual release is. So this is usability enhancements, and then what product that is pertaining to. So qualification, usability enhancements in specifically TradeTap for this slide here. So TradeTap has introduced several enhancements that are going to help improve usability and data management. And as I mentioned, everything that I'm going through today has already been released and is live in the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform. So admins now have exclusive control over approval deletions. We can reinforce oversight now. And then there's a new export feature that's going to allow teams to download the audit log for easier tracking and compliance. The vendor grid is also going to help include additional columns that surface application analytics. That is going to help to provide deeper insights into vendor activity. And also now we can right click and that's going to pull up support, which is going to enable you guys, our users, to open items in new tabs. We can streamline navigation and really just support overall multitasking. Okay, so a lot of really cool stuff coming with TradeTap. Super happy to see that because there hasn't been a ton of new releases in that space for a while. So this is one that I'm really excited about. And then we're going to move into, again, staying in pre-construction, but moving over to quantification and estimating. So again, specifically quantification, we're going to be looking at improved takeoff type management. And again, this is for Autodesk Takeoff. So some super cool enhancements coming to takeoff. The first is, again, that improved takeoff type management. So now when you adjust the height of a takeoff type, you're going to see a prompt asking whether or not you want to apply that change to all of your existing takeoffs that exist in that specific takeoff package, or just the current document that you're looking at, or only takeoffs that you're doing in the future. And what this is going to do is give you more precise control over how adjustments are applied. So when you reassign a takeoff object to a different takeoff type, you're going to get a heads up if there's any required input values that are missing. And then at that point, you can decide whether you want to keep the current values or if you want to inherit the defaults from the new takeoff type. So these updates are going to help to make quantity calculations a lot more accurate, and they're going to help you to manage formulas in a much easier capacity. The other release that we have in regards to quantification is count marker enhancement. So again, staying in the realm of Autodesk Takeoff, now you can rotate count markers and you can use a new rectangle shape. So super cool. This is going to make it a lot easier to align placed items with drawing elements, and that's going to help for better legibility and visual accuracy. We also have that right-click support, and that's going to enable users to open items in new tabs. We can streamline navigation and, again, support multitasking, just like with the improved takeoff type management. So super exciting releases there. Staying in the realm of quantification, visual indicator for improved navigation. Again, still in Autodesk Takeoff. Autodesk Takeoff is introducing a persistent visual indicator, and that's going to help you quickly spot which takeoff packages, sheets, and models contain any kind of takeoff data. So you don't have to go through all of those different items and see if there's any takeoff information on those assets, right? So you're still going to see the indicator right in the packages table and the takeoff viewer, whether you're browsing through the sheets and models panel or using the document drop-down menu at the top. The best part of this is that the indicator does not just highlight documents with takeoff, it's also going to change from gray to yellow when a new version of a taken off document is uploaded. So now you don't just have to say, is there a takeoff reference on here, but is this the newest iteration of that document? So that's super cool too. All right, staying in quantification and estimating, but now moving over to estimating from quantification, we're going to look at Autodesk Estimate. So hopefully you guys are all aware that this has been released. It was a super huge focus area of Autodesk Construction at AU, and I'm really excited for it to be here, although it just means it's another thing I have to learn, but really exciting. It's a really, really robust tool. So the new release here is Autodesk Estimate. Obviously, the solution there is Autodesk Estimate. And what this new solution does is bring estimating directly into the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and it's going to allow you, our estimators, to connect costs, materials, and labor calculations to 2D and 3D takeoff quantities directly from Autodesk Takeoff. And why that is beneficial for you is that you're going to have more accurate integrated estimates all within that single platform that is the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So super excited. The Autodesk Estimate is available through the pre-construction bundle, so you will need access to that subscription to have these capabilities, but it is now live, and that is exciting because we've had a lot of people ask about it. But some key information, just in addition to what I just spoke about with Autodesk Estimate, we're going to see a substantial amount of time savings and accuracy. So instead of you having to go in and manually enter quantities, you can send 2D and 3D takeoff data straight into the estimating tool, which is going to eliminate a lot of siloing and disconnection and just manual entry that we've seen historically. We're also going to have flexible cost adjustments. So now you can easily account for materials, for labor items, equipment subs, and other costs. Plus, you can apply markups when those are necessary and needed. There's also real-time responsiveness. So if takeoff quantities are going to change, you can instantly pull those updated values into your estimate. That's great, right? We don't like manually entering things because we have to do it in one space and then another, and we tend to forget. So that connection is going to be super helpful for your workflows. And then finally, team alignment and cost consistency. So no more siloed spreadsheets that I know you guys are a huge fan of. Estimate now is going to provide that transparent shared environment that's going to keep everybody on the same page. So if you have more questions about Estimate specifically, we do have a really fantastic pre-construction resource on my team, and she would love to chat more about it, as would I, but she is amazing. All right, so just a little bit of a snippet of what Estimate looks like. Again, we are so happy to have calls with our clients and teach you guys more about Estimate, but just a brief little snippet of what the platform looks like. Now, I will say what I really love about these new solutions being added into the Autodesk Construction Cloud is that I think the learning curve is pretty minimal because workflows tend to look the same. It doesn't look like an entirely new solution. If there's already comfort in working in the Autodesk Construction Cloud, I think that there can be comfort in working in new solutions and learning new workflows too. But again, that added connectivity between takeoff and estimate is going to be really, really huge for you. All right, so we are moving out of pre-con and into model management. The first space that we're going to talk about is specifically model coordination and multi-property clash groupings. So the solutions that this release affects are Autodesk BIM Collaborate and BIM Collaborate Pro, and then also the model management bundle. A lot of new naming conventions coming out. So model property clash grouping is going to allow you to group clashes by multiple model properties, simultaneously. And what that is going to do is provide better organizing, and it's going to help to facilitate more efficient issue and non-issue management. Okay, this release just came out at the end of November. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, please definitely do so. Don't imagine any of you are working over Thanksgiving holiday, but now this is an exciting thing for you to dive into. By grouping clashes with more than one property, we're going to help our teams to understand clash patterns across multiple dimensions. So that could be things like our system type, our different categories, our level, our different disciplines. So we're looking at a multiple property grouping, right, instead of just that one grouping. So we can look at a lot more information at one time instead of having to kind of go through that siloed process there. This is going to be really beneficial, obviously, for our BIM and our VDC managers. So when we're setting up the clash detection process, it's going to be a lot easier for you to define standardized grouping methods for both models and disciplines. And then it's also going to be really helpful when you're reviewing those clash results and analyzing those group clashes all together. So very excited for that one. Our next release is still in model coordination, and it is around clash checks. This, again, is going to pertain to the solutions of Autodesk BIM Collaborate and BIM Collaborate Pro, as well as the new naming convention of the model management bundle. So this release is going to allow model coordination users to save the clash side panel setup. So that's going to include things like our model selections, any tolerance settings that we have set up, clash groupings, and we're going to save that kind of as a clash check that we can then utilize for future uses, for future checks, right? So kind of like saving a view, but in this instance, we're saving exactly kind of the confines of what we're looking to check, different clashes or interferences with. This update is designed to help different disciplines and roles. So think designers, subcontractors, and again, our BIM and VDC managers are going to help to find and focus on the clashes that you specifically need to see. So instead of coming into the platform and just being met with all of the clashes, set up your specific clash type so that you know exactly what it is that is most important to you, and you can easily go in, look at that clash check view, and find the information that you're looking for. Because we like saving time and being efficient. All right, our next one here is going to be for, I think I skipped one. There we go. Okay, sorry. All right, so we're still in model coordination, and now we're looking at batch issues. So again, same solutions are going to be affected by this release, Autodesk BIM Collaborate and BIM Collaborate Pro, and then the model management bundle. Batch issue creation is going to allow all of you folks that work in the BIM space, there are VDC managers, BIM engineers, all those good folks, to batch create issues from numerous clashes using a consistent template or multiple properties. And this is going to be done with a single user initiated run. So this is going to help you to obviously speed up your issue creation because you can create a lot of issues at one time. We can also standardize those issues, again, by utilizing templates and ensuring everything's kind of done in a consistent manner, right? That helps with learning curves and getting people kind of processing our work a lot faster. And then obviously it's going to reduce the risk of the error that we just have as being human. Okay. Now, we're still staying in model management, but we're moving on into files. The first release that we're going to talk about is Civil Tools in Issues. This is going to affect Autodesk Docs, Autodesk BIM Collaborate Pro specifically, and then the model management bundle. So you now can store Civil Tools context as part of issue creation. So when you are creating an issue, the Civil Tools selection and visuals, things like alignment, profile selection, current station value, cut plane, all those Civil Tool visuals are going to be captured inside of that issue snapshot. And what this is going to do is ensure that stakeholders can easily understand the original context that is coming from behind the issue. We also have Civil Tools in updates. So again, going to affect the same solutions in there. And with this, we are helping to display those properties in the Civil Tools panel. So some cool stuff in there if that is the realm that you work in. Moving on into coordination. The release here is Civil Tools for model coordination, going to affect the solutions Autodesk BIM Collaborate and BIM Collaborate Pro, as well as the model management bundle. So with this release, you can now access Civil 3D alignment stationing navigation, perpendicular cross-section views, civil engineering inquiry tools. So think of station offset measurement. What this means is that Civil Tools can be used alongside existing model coordination workflows. So we can be using those tools alongside clash detection, issues, object table, colors, advanced filters. And the outcome for you is that that's going to help deliver a more streamlined review process within that aggregated model environment. So really cool. I'm excited about this one. I think roadway engineering was one of the hardest classes I took in college, so excited to be able to do more with that kind of information. Now we're going to move on into construction operations. The first kind of subcategory of construction ops is going to be project management, and specifically work plan that lives inside of our schedule module inside of Autodesk Build. So we're looking at task commitments and metrics. On this first slide, we're going to be looking at task commitments. I don't know where my little graphic is. We're going to be looking at task commitments on this slide, and then the next slide we'll be looking at task metrics. So with this first work plan release commitments, subcontractors are going to be able to commit to a task, which is then going to lock in the assignee and the due date from being edited or moved by anyone except for the manager. That's great. That's essentially just an additional permission that we've set up in here. Once that task is committed, those task dates and ownership can only be, again, replanned by the manager. And that means that any changes to dates and responsibilities are going to be documented. So just like how we have an audit log or an activity log of everything that we do in the Autodesk Construction Cloud, that's going to now happen with our task commitments as well. So I guess I just needed to click on my screen. So there's a visual of that. Okay. And then we're moving into task metrics. And again, this is still going to affect Autodesk Build. So in this tab, data from committed tasks can be used to build several types of charts. And those charts can be used to better understand planning performance and maybe reasons that we are running into issues inside of our project. So charts are going to include the plan percent complete, so PPC charts. Those could be things like weekly PPC, that could be PPC over time. We typically utilize PPC charts to see completion of committed tasks versus total commitments. And we do that so that we can track planning execution and the success of our overall planning. Another chart in there is root cause analysis. And that I think is going to be super cool because that's going to help you just better understand why are these issues coming up and what can we do to maybe mitigate them so that we are continuing to work at a speed and a progression that is desirable for us. Okay. Staying inside of work plan, but moving on to another release, ease of use improvement. So again, work plan is inside of schedule. That's going to affect Autodesk Build. Now there's a simpler work plan experience, and that is going to help teams overall focus on what is most important to them in the short term. So the view of the quarter option is no longer available when we're looking at selecting different views, kind of the time range that we're looking for. The longest swim lane, right? So the longest amount of time will be month from now on. And that's going to display a 6-week period. So you can still scroll to see other tasks that are in the future or the past, but what Autodesk has found basically by just doing like market studies and working with the clients is that the month view is probably the most beneficial the most beneficial time range in there. So you still have look ahead time periods. You can still zoom in You can still do all of that, but just know that there's not going to be all those different timing conventions that we had previously. And additionally, Zoom options are being simplified to better support the short-term viewing. Okay, so hopefully ease of use in work plan is what you get from those changes in date ranges. So staying in project management, but moving over to submittals, we're going to look at adding it as a reference on a mobile device, right, on your mobile application. So that again is going to affect Autodesk Build, but more specifically the ACC mobile app. So tools that currently allow adding reference on mobile will now support the ability to add a submittal reference. That's super cool. I think a long time coming, but happy to see this as a release. So this option to add will appear in the reference pickers. So whenever you're inside of that submittal on your mobile device, and then there's attachments, right? An attachment is coming directly from your device or from your computer. A reference is another component from your project that we're wanting to add. Now we can do that with submittals. What this is going to do is let our field teams link to related submittals on their mobile device rather than having to wait until they get back to their computer. So that's super exciting, and that is for both our Android and iOS friends. Okay, going from submittals to RFIs, there are two releases in the realm of RFIs. The first is support sheets references in bridged RFIs. Obviously, is going to affect Autodesk Build. Bridged RFIs now include sheets as references. So again, references are just other components of our project we're adding onto that workflow for additional context and justification. So when an RFI is bridged, sheet references will be copied over to the bridge project, and then these sheet references will be stored in the target project within a virtual folder in the file space. So that's the first release. The second is the reference to work plan. Super, super cool. So now we can add a plan task as a reference within the RFI reference picker. So you can just see on the screen here, instead of just linking to schedule, we can actually go into schedule, and there's additional parts of the schedule that we can add as a reference to RFI. So that I think is a really exciting one. All right, moving into my favorite area, cost management. So the first that we're going to talk about here is our integration, and that is that GC Pay integration. So hopefully most of you guys know that this is available now. Obviously, cost management inside of is inside of Autodesk Build, but we have the direct Autodesk Build and GC Pay integration is now live. So you guys all should see that. It does say beta. It's a public beta, which means that it's available for everyone. If you're not seeing this in your cost management space, definitely feel free to let us know, or anyone from your Autodesk team. But this is going to allow for more choice for you guys that are using cost management. So since Autodesk Build and GC Pay connect with a unique mix of ERP systems, some are shared, some are more distinct, this integration is going to let more customers take advantage of both platforms, even when a full, robust, direct ERP integration isn't available. You don't need to do anything for this to show up for you. You're just going to go into the edit space here, and you'll be able to see it in there. And then it'll kind of walk through that integration process for you. So again, if you need help with any of that, please feel free to reach out to our team. But that should be available to you now. I don't know why that little graphic went down instead of up, but the next one we're going to talk about is still an integration, but this one is with TradeTap. There are multiple phases to this full integration, but phase one is live now. You should be seeing that. Again, this is within Autodesk Build, cost management. This was just released at the end of November. So again, if you haven't had a chance to look at this yet, definitely dive into this if these are two solutions that you guys are using. But now you can easily connect your TradeTap account with Autodesk Build. And what that is going to help enable you to do is automatically push supplier, company, and qualification data directly into cost management. So this is going to eliminate the need for you to enter that data manually, and it's going to better ensure data accuracy. So yeah, all of that is live for you now. Typically, like with our integrations, we would really suggest that someone from your account admin team is kind of going through that process. But if that is how your organization is set up, your account admin person will connect the TradeTap account to your library inside of your ACC environment, and then all of that synced information is going to kind of show in the contract layout. So whenever you're in cost management and you go into those individual contracts, when you click on one and open the flyout on just trying to walk through the visual that should be on my screen. When you open one of those contracts and you look at the flyout that pops up on the right-hand side, all of that information from TradeTab should automatically show up for you. Again, if you have any problems or issues with this, let one of us know and we can certainly help you. All right, staying in cost management, but going over to change management, the first release that we have here is creating a potential change order without having mandatory cost items. Yay, this is a huge one. This is super helpful for me in demos because I don't have to go build out individual cost items to show how a PCO works. So I'm excited for this, but more beneficial for you in your actual workflows. This is going to affect Autodesk Build cost management and then also BIM 360 cost management if that is a solution that you are still using. So now you can initiate a PCO without linking it to budget or cost items. Very cool. This is going to enable early stakeholder review and budget impact estimation without affecting the budget. So I know this has been a really big frustration because sometimes you're just trying to create something pretty prematurely just to document it, right? We don't have all the information we need to like fully robustly make a PCO, but we just want to put it in there so I don't forget it. And now you can. So that's a super cool release here, hopefully helpful to a lot of you on the call. And then still in cost management, moving over to settings, we now have compliance enhancements. So this is going to affect Autodesk Build cost management as well as BIM 360 cost management. So two different compliance options have been added to the cost management settings. Those are the payment stage-based compliance. So now if you're an admin, you can apply different compliance requirements based on what the payment application stage is. So you can see that it's via the drop-down, right? You can choose any stage, initial, progress, or final, right? So those are the different options that you have in there. And then the second compliance enhancement is the new compliance condition. So that's going to prevent contract sending based on the budget code segment type. So if you're an admin, there are some exciting releases for you. All right, staying inside of settings for cost management. Now we're looking at automatic document capture from email replies. This again is going to affect Autodesk Build cost management and BIM 360 cost management. So now when you reply to a system generated email with attachments, those files that are attachments are now automatically going to be saved to the corresponding modules attachment section within that flyout. So that's pretty cool. The email body is going to be stored as a comment, and then relevant stakeholders will be notified via any alerts that you guys have integrated or set up inside of your ACC platform. All right, so stepping away from cost management, moving into field collaboration, the first area that we're going to take a look at is forms. So this is a pretty exciting one for me because transparently, I think that Autodesk Build Forms has not been looked at in a while, and there's a lot of good work that we can do there. So now we can add custom tables. This is in Autodesk Build. This has been a huge, huge customer request for a very, very long time. So now Forms is going to support more flexible data capture because now you have the ability to create custom tables inside of the form builder. So form builders will be able to configure the columns. You can define what the column headers are. You can specify data types that are required. You can customize different options that are available for selection. Data types include things like signature, time, date, all of that good stuff is supported. And additionally, your field teams can create as many rows as needed on the fly. So, you know, what you would do inside of Autodesk Build and creating the template is set up what the different columns are called. But as an example, if I'm in the field and maybe I have a form table for capturing issues in the field, I have all of the information or the criteria about the issues that I need to put in there. But if I have 10 issues, I can just keep adding a new row. I think something that's been a little challenging in forms is that we're not able to really utilize conditional logic to hide questions if they don't pertain to specific parts of that specific form that we're filling out. So being able to just add those new rows as we need them, I think is super helpful. So that's one release for forms, but we have more. Another release for forms is copy form templates into projects. So now at the project level and the project template level, you can now make a copy of a library form template. The new copy is not going to be linked to the library. It's going to, and the original copy is going to remain linked. So when you make a new copy, you're not adding anything else to the library. It's just that original form that was connected to the library will stay intact, and then you'll just be off and running with your new form. The copy that you've created, that can then be edited. You can add or remove questions, but it's still, again, going to remain linked to that original template, but not edit the original template. So that's a really cool release that we have there for forms. And then one more. Nope, that was it for forms. I do want to put in a little plug for Imagine It. So yes, Autodesk Build forms are definitely getting more enhanced, and that's amazing. But if you are looking for a really complex form that's really easy to generate, we support a solution called Forms Connected, where we can do really robust model conditioning, adding in different reference data, really cool stuff like that. So if you're feeling like Forms is still not giving you everything that you need, know that that's something that Imagine It can help you with, and I'm happy to provide more information around that as well. But staying in field collaboration and now moving over from forms to issues, the first area is reference issues to issues on mobile. So this is going to affect the ACC mobile app. Why this matters, a lot of times our crews that are on site encountered issues that are linked, whether it's a safety concern that's maybe tied to a design change or a punch item related to a previous inspection. So now we can reference issues directly from the mobile device, and that just is going to make sure that everything stays connected. It's really hard to expect our field folks to kind of remember what needs to be connected and wait until they get back to their office to do that, if they even have an office computer to go to. So this is really nice, again, just for that cohesiveness and that connection directly from the field. The other release is issue details. Now we can collapse and expand empty fields. So if there is information that's not going to be filled in for that issue, we can just collapse that field so that we're not looking at this massive issue and a lot of the information is not built out. So I think that's just kind of a frustration a lot of folks have had. I know I certainly have had that, so that's a nice to have. Staying in issues for field collaboration, 2 additional releases here. So the first is closed issues download / sync behavior change. So if there are any closed issues that are inside of your project now, they are no longer going to sync to the mobile devices just by default. You can push to have them synced there, but typically we don't want to overwhelm our field folks with information that is not relevant to them. So those issues are just not gonna pop over for them. The second release that we have is ACC Issues API issue placements. So this says public beta. Public beta just means that this is available to GA or general audience. So you should see this in your mobile app now. But the ACC public API offerings are expanding, and now we're including issue placements API. So this is essentially, if you are more on the development end of your organization or more of the admin or IT side, this is essentially a set of endpoints that are going to enable full CRUD operations on issue pins placed on supported 2D files and 3D models, except for sheets. So just something for you to know in regards to integrations. All right, we are going to move over to asset tracking and handover, specifically handover and assets in handover. This is going to affect Autodesk Docs and Autodesk Build. Autodesk Build now supports assets in handover packages. Super, super cool. I'm a big fan of asset management. So now teams can include asset level data by category, and we can filter by status. And what that is going to do for you is help to make closeout documentation more robust, more complete, and more tailored to the needs of your owner. The other release that we have for handover is enabling automatic hyperlinks for sheets in handover. So now handover is going to preserve hyperlinks on sheets in those handover packages. This enhancement is going to extend Autodesk Build's automatic sheet linking into the handover workflow. And so that our owners and facilities teams, they can navigate those sheet sets more easily, more seamlessly, right? So any automatic hyperlinks that you've stuck on sheets, that's going to be available to owners. So if there was any kind of connectivity that was really helpful during the design and construction of a sheet, we still want to be able to give that information to our owners and our FM folks. And so that's what we can do now. All right, now we are going to move into the last section that I have to talk about, which is the overall ACC platform. The first area that we're going to focus on is document management. All right, and the first area of focus is files. The first release is the bulk upload tool, and that is going to affect Autodesk Docs. So now we can upload large files, folders, and projects from your Windows desktop directly into Autodesk Docs. Super, super cool. So you can upload your CAD files, your Civil 3D projects to the cloud, all while preserving file relationships and preventing any broken references. Yay, because that is a pain to fix. We're gonna, obviously you guys know who will find this most valuable, but this release was really intended for our BIM managers, our PMs, and our project admins. So very exciting there. The other release related to files is DWG integrity and migration for docs. So that's also obviously going to be affected in Autodesk Docs. So now, yeah, we're not going to have those broken links. Is essentially what I was just saying. But really exciting here. So if you do work more in the design realm and you want more information on this or want to chat with us, definitely let us know. But I think that you're going to see the mitigation of a lot of kind of frustrations that you've seen historically. All right, moving into packages. This again pertains to Autodesk Docs, and it's adding files to multiple packages. So now package managers can add files to up to 10 packages at one time. I don't think I need to tell you why this is helpful, but it's obviously going to save a lot of time and streamline your workflows there. So that's really exciting. So if you are managing a large team or a large scope of work, coordinating across a lot of different disciplines and trades, you typically have to distribute a lot of the same files in a lot of different packages. And now you can do that all at one time. So that's a really neat release that we've got. Moving on into reviews, the release here is review of auto trigger, also pertains to Autodesk Docs. So now this is generally available. This was in beta for quite a while, so it should be a feature that you guys are all really happy with because it was tested for quite a while. But now our project admins can set up automation rules inside of the files tool, and that's going to help to automatically trigger review workflows based on the file uploads, any moves that it made, copies or metadata conditions. And this is going to help to streamline document control and keep the review processes more consistent and connected. This is really meaningful because manual review initiation, as we all know, super, super time consuming, a lot of room for human error in there, right? So because we're using auto trigger, now we're going to ensure that critical files don't slip through any cracks and that reviews start as soon as the file hits those designated folders and that they meet the defined criteria. So that is an exciting one. All right. And then moving on to transmittals. So now we can transmit with file metadata. This again is going to affect Autodesk Docs. Transmittals now support file metadata, which is going to make it easier to send documents with the context that the teams that you're sending those transmittals off to need. You as a sender can now preview key attribute values during the transmittal creation. Project admins can also configure default attribute groups, and that's going to allow for our creators to quickly apply consistent metadata across all of our transmittals. All right, and now we're going to move into data and intelligence, specifically dashboards. So we now have a quality KPI dashboard that you guys can access. This is overall platform, right? So this is just going to be found inside of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. This is on your project home is where you'll be able to see this. If you don't, again, just let us know. But now your project teams can have access to this centralized dashboard, again, in the project home space. And what you can do there is monitor quality performance of your project. So this dashboard will automatically provide a high-level view of key quality metrics. Quality issues can quickly escalate if we don't track them proactively, right? We all know that. So this dashboard is going to help more so your admin folks, but really just everyone in your project help to understand and have visibility into the big picture really quickly. It's going to help to identify trends, going to drill into details so we can catch those issues early before we move on in construction and they become very costly. As we know, anything that's happening in terms of dashboards and insights in Autodesk Construction Cloud is happening automatically. There's nothing that you need to do to get this information to auto-populate for you. I just always recommend that when you create issues, fill in as much information as you can because any output is only going to be as good as the information that we're putting into it. But this is a really, really cool and very, very robust dashboard that's now available to you. All right, moving over to Data Connector. This again for the entire platform, so Autodesk Construction Cloud, and we have the Takeoff Power BI template is now available to you. So hopefully many of you have spent time in the data connector. You know that there are a ton of Power BI templates that are just widely available for you. But now there is another one specifically for Autodesk Takeoff. This is going to just help you understand your QTO analytics really easily. So just another template that Autodesk has gifted you. So if Takeoff is something that you're using in your workflows, make sure to take a look at this new template for you. And then moving over into Insight Builder, meetings data is the first release that we have in here, affects the entire platform. So you now have access to meetings data inside of your Insight Builder. What this is going to do is give you and your teams the ability to analyze meeting activity through custom dashboards and reporting. This release also includes a dedicated data set and dashboard template so that you and your teams can help track meeting frequency, what participation looks like. Did we invite 20 people and only 2 people showed up, right? Nobody can kind of hide from not showing up to meetings anymore. And trends in follow-up. So are you leaving a lot of items for follow-up? And are those things actually getting closed out? Are those things actually getting handled prior to the next meeting? So I think that's a really cool data set that we now have available to you. And you also have Sheets data that obviously also is going to affect your entire platform as well. So Insight Builder has meetings data and Sheets data available. Sheets data, along with a Power BI dashboard template, is going to help you and your teams to quickly turn drawing data into better visual insights. So this release is going to give project controllers and field teams a faster way to report on sheet activity and drawing set health across projects. So another exciting release for you guys to check out. And then we've got reports. So again, going to affect the entire Autodesk Construction Cloud, but this release is for takeoff type inventory reports. So now there's a new report inside of the pre-con space in your ACC environment that's going to give pre-con teams a cleaner, more consolidated view of all the quality or quantity data that lives in there. So as with anything, you can kind of customize what that report looks like. You can grab those different fields, put them in different orders, just decide what's most important to you and then print out those reports directly from that space. All right, and I think, yeah, this is our last area. So this is project standardization. The first release that we have in here pertains to Bridge, and this is going to be around Bridge custom attributes. Obviously affects the entire ACC platform. So Bridge now supports custom attributes when we're sharing files across and folders across different projects. So it's really, really important to us that you guys maintain clean, consistent metadata across projects. And we know that that can be really challenging, especially when you're working across different accounts or you have different, external stakeholders, getting information there too. So this update is going to eliminate the need for manual re-entry. It's going to help to improve data integrity for cross-project collaboration, and it's going to help you and your team stay aligned with standards like ISO 19650. So that's an exciting one. And then the other release for Bridge is forwarding from Bridge folder automations, going to affect the entire ACC again. So now Bridge allows users to configure both incoming and outgoing automations on the same folder. And what this is going to do is help enable files to be automatically passed from one project to another without any kind of manual intervention that you've been having to do before. And our last 2 releases pertain to library. The first is classifications in library. So now if you're an accountman, which is usually the folks that we see kind of working in the library, you can now create and manage classification structures directly inside of that library. So it doesn't matter what format or company code you're using, right? We can do that in there. And then our last release for library is pre-construction in library. So now if you're an account admin, you can use the pre-con library in the account admin space to set up standardized cost and line item data for estimating, and then that information will be utilized in the new estimate tool. So again, we really are focused on how do we streamline, how do we get you guys set up fast and just be able to utilize data again and again and again, so that your setup for projects is not this like overwhelming thing that nobody wants to be responsible for. We want you to be consistent. We want there to be predictable data in the projects. So those are all of the library releases, and I think those are all of our releases. So I know that was a lot. That was 53 slides of new releases, and many of them had 2 on there. So if there are questions, I'm super happy to answer.